I'm curious how much money that already made me. Bro, there's actually no way. That is one of the best money methods I'm going to be testing in this video. But before those, let's start with methods that make less than 1 million an hour. The very first method is going to be gambling. Gambling is the only money-making method where the more you do it, the less money you get. The rules are simple. Higher number from the dropper wins. I'm nether gold, host is normal gold. Alright. I'm pretty sure you just joined one of these calls. Hello, bro. Can I gamble? I'll take the crouch spam as yes. Oh my gosh, I actually won. Alright, let me go again, bro. 6, 5, 9. Alright, one more time. Come on, come on, come on. 1, bro. Alright, I can do one more. Oh, alright, one more. 3, 9. Oh! Thank you, bro. Alright, I'm out. Have a good day. Well, I just lost $6 million, but moving on to method number 2, which is going to be mining for netherite. First, I obviously have to go to the nether. Now I can just go down till I get to a ancient debris level. Oh. Oh. Okay, looks like someone was mining here. Yeah, I mean, bro. There's literally just nothing left. Wow. Alright, this method does not work. But let's just move on to the next one, which is going to be mining bamboo. Yeah, literally just go to a jungle and mine some bamboo. As you can see, I almost have an entire inventory after just a few minutes. Let's see how much it sells for. Okay, 2.5k. That's really bad. Oh my god, $13? How much did I just make? Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this method sucks. This is a horrible method. That was a method that made less than $1 million an hour, but soon will be ones that make over 200 million. But for now, let's just move on to the next method, which is going to be fishing. So first, you obviously need a fishing rod, and then you just fish. Oh, I already got one. Oh my god, bro. 1 raw cod. How much does that sell for? 1,000. 1,000. Another raw cod. Another raw cod. Okay. Please not raw cod. 5 raw cod. Wait, maybe this actually sells for something. Alright, bro. This method sucks, I'm not gonna lie. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be looting archaeology sites. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be crafting and selling armor stands. So, first, you need to get some smooth stone. Just get the cheapest one. Okay. And then you also need to get some wood. Also, just get the cheapest. And you want to craft the logs into sticks and the smooth stone into slabs. And then with that, you can just craft them all into armor stands. I need some more sticks. Alright, as you can see, I have 8 stacks of armor stands, and each stack sells for about 8k. I only profited about like 10k from that. I mean, I also have all these sticks left over, but to be honest, this is not a good method at all. But anyways, moving on to the next one, which is going to be selling carved pumpkins. So basically, if you find a pumpkin patch like this, you want to shear them all. And after they're all sheared, you can mine them. And as you can see, each carved pumpkin sells for 10k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining dirt. Take a shovel, mine some dirt. You know, 15k, that's honestly better than I thought. Moving on to the next method, which is going to be duping netherite upgrades. First, buy some diamonds. Then you need a little bit of netherrack. I did not need that much, and just 1 smithing template. And then you can just start duplicating as much as you can, and each individual smithing template will sell for about 40k. After those all sell, I will have actually profited 390k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be flipping orders. Basically, just order some comparators. I'll order 2, and now that they were delivered, I can sell them all for 10 times the amount I bought them for. But anyways, on to the next method, which is going to be selling enchanted helmets. First, you need to get some diamonds. You obviously also need lapis in an enchantment table. Then use all the diamonds and craft them into helmets. You're gonna need levels, so you can use bottles of enchanting from the shop. Ooh, that is not bad. You want to sell the helmets on the auction for what you think the enchants are worth. For example, I think this is worth 400k, and this I think is like 100. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining leaves. You can use either shears or a silk touch hoe to mine the leaves. Also, if you turn on hitboxes, it will be a little bit easier not to miss any. As you can see, I just used 1 shear that costs 10k, and I have 3 stacks of leaves. Each stack sells for 80k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be shearing vines. So Oh my god, bro. Okay, for some reason, vines just will not, like, drop for me when I break them. However, if they do break for you, it's a really good method. They literally sell for 99k. Great method, but only if the server isn't broken. But anyways, on to the next method, which is going to be twisted vines. Please break, please break, please break. Okay, a little bit did. I don't know why. Okay, whatever. I got 7. The lowest selling right now is a stack for 400k. All right, moving on to the next method, which is mining andesite. And you might be thinking, this is a horrible method. Who is buying andesite? But surprisingly, as you can see, a stack of andesite actually sells for 80k. But anyways, on to the next method, which is mining sand. So first you have to find a desert. And then the next thing you have to do is find a part of desert where it's not already mined. Okay, there's a little bit of sand here. Just mine all of the sand you can. And as you can see, after only a minute, I already have a ton of sand. The lowest price on the auction is 20k, but they also sell for 150 on orders. 40k is not too shabby. All right, moving on to the next method, which is mining terracotta. So first for this, you actually have to find a Badlands, which is pretty rare, but if you just keep RTPing, you should find one pretty quickly. All this terracotta sells for different prices, but I believe the yellow actually sells for the highest. Okay, the lowest price for a stack of yellow terracotta is 200k. That's a lot of money, but it's nothing compared to the amount the methods later on in the video will make. Anyways, moving on to the next method, which is going to be breaking shroom lights. Shroom lights spawn in crimson trees. So after you find a crimson forest, you just want to go around breaking all of the shroom lights. And as you can see, each shroom light sells for 100k. Now moving on to the next method, which is going to be flipping map arts. Basically, just look for map arts that you think people might buy on the auction. Oh yeah, this one's good. Also, you do need to use the map tooltip mod in order to see the art. So as you can see, I bought 3 map arts for 20k each. And now I can resell all of them for 100k per map art. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining purple pillars. Oh my gosh, bro. Why has nobody killed this shulker? Alright, as you can see, I already have a stack of purple pillars, and the lowest price for purple pillars right now is 198k. Not too shabby. Each of those methods make under 50 million per hour, but now here are ones that make 50 to 200 million per hour. Starting with mining sandstone. So everybody mines out these huge beaches for sand, but they always leave the sandstone. They forget sandstone literally sells for over double sand. There is one pretty big problem. The sandstone orders are horrible, so you pretty much have to sell it on the auction. Moving on to the next method, which is literally just mining for ores. And you want to use Silk Touch because the ores actually sell for more than the ingots. And literally, like, just about every single ore will sell for about 10k. Even stuff like copper, bro. Diamonds actually sell for like closer to 20k, right? Yeah, deep slate diamond ores literally sell for like 20k. Anyway, moving on to the next method, which is going to be crafting fungus on a stick and selling it. All right, get a bunch of sticks and string, craft it into fishing rods, and then attach your fungus onto it. You can't use the red fungus, okay. Alright, I'm not even kidding. The lowest price per fishing rod is 300k. Alright, this method is insanely underrated. But moving on to the next one, which is crafting and selling spyglasses. So first you need to buy some copper off the auction. You need to get double however much amethyst you're gonna get, and literally just craft them into spyglasses. Oh my gosh, these sell for 40k per. Now moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining skulk. Alright, first you obviously need to find a deep dark, and then you need to get a silk touch hoe, and then you can just start mining all of it. Each skulk catalyst sells for 150k, so you definitely don't want to ignore those. And as you can see, one stack of salt sells for 75k. But moving on to the next method, which is going to be abusing snow golems. First, you have to build the snow golem. Snow block, carved pumpkin. You also have to make sure they're trapped, but once you do that, you can just start shoveling the block under them. As you can see, my inventory is almost full. In my opinion, the most optimal way to sell these is not by orders because the price is so low. And obviously, you don't want to sell each individual stack on the auction. So what I recommend is putting all the snowballs in a shulker and selling the shulker for 200k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is blowing up sand. So for this method, you need a lot of TNT. So I just ordered 32 for 2,500. And then you want to space it all out like this. And just look at all this sand. Bro, my inventory is already full. All right, let's see how much this order makes. 500k. That's really good. Even though that's a really good method, it still doesn't make as much money as the methods at the end of the video. Anyways, moving on to the next one, which is selling milk. For this method, you need a lot of buckets. I'm literally gonna buy a whole shulker for 100k. And then you find a goat or a cow and just spam them. And these all sell for like 10k. All right, moving on to the next method, which is going to be chopping netherwood. So you can sell whatever amount of warped logs for about 100k, and crimson sells for the exact same. Moving on to the next method, which is going to be sunflowers. Basically, just grab a sunflower and start bone mealing it. As you can see, the lowest price for any sunflower is a stack for 100k. So what I'm going to do is take my 2 stacks and turn it into 8 groups of 16. And then I'm going to sell each group for 50k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be selling axolotls. Sorry guys, I gotta steal this water. This is actually one of my favorite methods. Basically, you just gotta get 2 axolotls and breed them a bunch. And you want to pick them all up in buckets and sell them each for 80k. Alright, on to the next method, which is mining and selling bee nests. So if you see one of these, literally just break it and you can sell it for 100k. And it's literally that simple. Moving on to the next method, which is mining and selling mud. So mud only spawns in mangrove swamps, but if you find a mangrove swamp, you can just insta mine a ton of it and sell each stack for 100k. Moving on to the next method. The dripstone blocks actually sell for more than the dripstone, so you can break both at once by breaking the dripstone blocks under the dripstone. I'm going to sell half a stack of dripstone for 30k, and then the stack of dripstone blocks for 90k. On to the next method, which is selling netherwood doors. First, mine a bunch of netherwood. You can also just buy the wood, and then you're going to want to just craft it into a bunch of doors, bro. So I got 30 here. And the reason you want to do doors is because the lowest price for 2 doors is 125k. So I would just sell like each of these for 100k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining trees with an amethyst axe. Amethyst axes usually sell for around 10 to 20 mil. And basically what the amethyst axe does is when you break one wood, the entire tree falls. So basically all you want to do is go around the whole forest and breaking all the trees, and you'll get stacks and stacks of logs instantly. You generally want to sell them on the auction because the orders for dark oak wood is for some reason literally cheeks. Now moving on to the next method, which is going to be chopping giant mushrooms. And you want to break both the stems and the mushroom blocks, but you do want to focus on the stems because most of the sales are like 16 for 100k, which is basically 100k for each of these mushrooms. A stack of mushroom blocks sells for 60k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining packed ice. The reason ice is such a good method is that everyone needs ice for their farms, but nobody really wants to mine it themselves. Alright, as you can see, it's been just a few minutes. I only have 4 stacks. A stack of packed ice on the auction sells for about 30k, but it sells for over $170 on orders, which is really good. Moving on to the next method, which is going to be killing the wither. You should buy them on orders for cheap, but I'm too lazy to wait for that. And then you can get some soul sand from the shop. You probably don't want to do this if you're on Bedrock, by the way. Alright. Hello, bro. Alright. Very, very easy fight. And as you can see, nether stars sell from about 180 to 200k. Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be getting streamers to rate your base. Basically, a lot of DonutSMP streamers will TP to viewers to rate their base, and they will also pay them a lot of money. Oh, he's TPing. He's TPing. Yo, yo, yo.
Yo. What's up?
Yo, yo, yo.
I like your race. Ooh, Mona Lisa.
Yes, bro. I painted that myself. So, you know, I got this kelp farm.
How's it been going? Good?
Pretty cool. No, it's cheeks. It loses money.
It's really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a Neo that I really suck at. I got Tung 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 Sahor's Shrine. He's a fish that passed away.
Wait, what? Why do I have Frostwalker on?
Yo, why are you creeping his shrine, bro?
Wait, I'll take that off.
Yeah.
Alright. Here, you can have some gilded, and I would please. Here, I'll give you like 4 mil.
Alright, bro. Thank you, man.
And you can have it like a banner. Alright, see ya. Cool.
Alright, moving on to the next method, which is going to be making white concrete. Alright, first you need some sand, and then you need to get some gravel. And then you want to use some dye from a spawner to turn it into white concrete powder. Alright, I think all you do is just place water, and then do this. Oh yeah, okay. 16 white concrete sells for 87k. Each of these are 80k. That method is actually insane. But moving on to the next one, which is mining soul soil. The order for soul soil is not that good. However, on the auction, the lowest is literally 300k for a stack. All right, moving on to the next method, which is going to be digging rooted dirt. Okay, so first thing, you have to find one of these azalea trees and just literally mine under it. I'm actually gonna buy an amethyst shovel to make it even more efficient. And then you literally just want to keep digging down until you reach the lush cave. All right, here it is. Nice. So as you can see, I got 7 stacks of rooted dirt just from that one tree. Oh my gosh, 1 stack literally sells for 360k. All right, moving on to the next method, which is building a cow farm. Welcome to your new house, bro. Now I just need some wheat. All right, normally you'd want to scale this up a little bit before you start killing them, but I actually just don't got time like that, so. As you can see, I got 8 leather from that, and I can sell each leather for 20k. All right, moving on to the next method, which is joining my Discord server. If you're wondering how that's a money-making method, it's because we will be having giveaways in the server for DonutSMP money. All right, moving on to the next method, which is going to be selling blue axolotls. All right, first you're gonna need an axolotl. If you use the axolotl buckets mod, you can see the color of them. You can search for the blue ones. And now that you have one, you can just breed it with another axolotl. It doesn't have to be blue. And then in the all chat, you can just tell people to TP to you to buy it. 2 million.
There.
Thank you. Here's your axolotl. Alright, I'm not gonna lie, I kinda scammed that kid, but anyway, moving on to the next method, which is going to be investing. You see, items in DonutSMP are constantly going up in price, meaning if you buy specific items and hold on to them, eventually you will make a lot of money. As of when I'm making this video, spawners are by far the best item to invest in right now because Donut is actually removing the AFK area. And finally, it's time to test DonutSMP's best money methods, starting with AFKing spawners. So basically, I got one skeleton spawner here, I just placed it down, and I'm gonna AFK for 1 hour and see how much money I make. Alright, it's been 1 hour. Let's check how many bones I have. 2 stacks of bones and a stack of arrows. So as you can see, bones sell for 170 each, meaning I just made 20k in an hour. You might be saying, that is kind of cheeks, but you got to keep in mind that is one spawner. You can literally scale that up infinitely. So theoretically, if I had like 1,000 spawners, I would have made 20 million in 1 hour from literally doing nothing. The only problem with spawners is the only way to get them is you need to either AFK shards for 25 hours per spawner, or you can buy them from other players and possibly get scammed because they don't sell on auction. But anyways, moving on to the next method, which is duels. I wouldn't recommend bringing any netherite, because, you know, if you die, you lose it all. Yes! Okay. Alright, let's see what I got. He's got maxed out armor, bro. He had a netherite sword? Oh! So after selling all of those items, I literally made $4.5 million from one duel. That's actually kind of crazy. But moving on to the next method, which is going to be mining sand with an amethyst shovel. Bro, look at how much sand I'm mining. I don't think it's even been a minute and my inventory is already full. I'm curious how much money I made. There's actually no way. Bro, 140k. Alright, moving on to the final method, which is going to be scamming. Basically, you want to type TP to buy spawner in chat, get them to pay you up front, and then just don't drop it.